the years, we've done a lot of videos on the S197 Mustang, everywhere from suspension to engine work to all kinds of exhaust, tons of different options on this car. And every time we do a video here at CJ Pony Parts, we use our lift because we have one. If you have one at home, I'm sure you're using it as well. But we know a lot of you guys are working from home and you're working on your backs. And we've had a few people ask us, if you're gonna be working on your S197 Mustang, but you're working on the ground, where is the best place to safely put jack stands on the vehicle so you can work on it? Today we're gonna show you some good jacking points for your S197 Mustang. We're going to start off on the rear of the car, but before we get into where to put the jack stands, make sure you have a good set of jack stands. Now, jack stands are not terribly expensive, so you have an older set, it might be time for a nice newer set. Also, there's a certain brand that's kind of had a history lately of failing. If you have a set of those, throw them in the trash, go get a nice decent set of jack stands. Now, back to the S197 Mustang, when you're jacking up your S197 Mustang, these are a solid axle car. So the best place to get the back end off the car is straight on the pumpkin. Now we have our car on jack stands already, so it's easier to see. But again, you want to go just basically right up on the pumpkin, get it as centered as possible. Again, don't get the sway bar and don't try to have it on the back edge where the cover is. Get it on the meat of the pumpkin. And that's a good place to jack the car up. Now on the S197, when you go up, because of the design of the suspension, it will tend to lift one wheel a little bit higher than the other. Just make sure when you put your jack stands in place that they're nice and even. And the best place on the back of these cars, in my opinion, to put the jack stands is right on the axle tubes. They're solid, there's a good place for the stand to sit, and it's a very solid place when working on the car. So before we talk about the front, we're going to talk about the side and the actual factory jack locations. Now, there's two locations on the rocker. We'll show you both of those, but there's little arrows that point down, one there and one towards the front. Those arrows point down to a section of the pinch weld that is strong enough for a jack. Now, mainly what those are used for is if you're jacking up the car and you have a flat tire using a factory style jack. You can't actually jack on those normally. And if you're gonna do so, I would suggest getting one of the pucks that actually goes over the pinch weld, which is much safer for use, or even a block of wood like this. But again, those can be used for jack stand locations, but I usually prefer putting them on the frame and on the rear housing, as I find it to be a lot stronger. Also, if you're jacking up from the side and you don't want to use the pinch welds, consider a set of jacking rails. We carry jacking rails here for the 05 through 2014 Mustang that will allow you to jack up anywhere on the pinch weld and do it much more safe. Now, as far as the front goes, if you happen to have a car that's not terribly low and you have a low profile jack and you have an aftermarket radiator support like our BMR piece here, this is more than plenty strong enough to jack the front of the car up and allows you to lift the whole front up at the same time. Now again, I wouldn't recommend this for the stock one. It will support it, but you're much better off only doing this with an aftermarket piece, again, like our BMR unit here. But in most cases, because of the height of these cars, you're gonna have to go from the side to lift up the front, and we'll show you how to do that. Now, in front of the Mustang, there is again a factory jack point with the arrow right here in the rocker. Again, I wouldn't suggest using that for anything but changing a tire. Underneath the car, you've got your frame rail right here, and you have the K-member right here. And these are interchangeable. You can jack it up by the K-member, put your jack stand underneath the frame, or you can jack up by the frame like I have here, and put your jack stands on the K-member. Now obviously if you have a lift like we do here at our CJ Pony Studios, we're gonna use that for our installations, but before I came to YouTube and came to CJ's, I did plenty of work on the ground just like you guys are doing at home with jack stands, and if you put jack stands in a safe spot, any of the installs we do here, you can safely do at home.